It's 8 a.m. here on Local 4 Plus, and welcome to Local 4 Live. We got plenty to talk about over the next 2 hours as emergency closures are happening in western Wayne County. So if your commute takes you along any part of 275 or that part of 275, you're going to want to listen up. Plus, we've seen everything this week, from warm weather to thunderstorms to rain, and now here come the high winds, and the snow is back in the conversation. Ashley Barrissey is going to break it all down for us. Plus, the 2026 NFL season has technically officially begun, and the Lions are already making some moves. We're here to break down who's heading to Detroit, plus who's leaving, and my quarterback Jared Goff will have a different look to his contract.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Good Thursday morning. It's 8 a.m. here on Local 4 Plus. I'm Jay Scott Smith. Welcome to Local 4 Live for March 12, 2026. And we're going to start this Thursday with another massive commute challenge. This time, it's unexpected. MDOT says that westbound I-96 and M14 at I-275 is shut down because of bad road conditions. Now, this is being blamed on the recent changes in the weather. Now, Kyla Russell is on the freeway with what you need to know right now. Good morning, Kyla. What is it looking like out there?
Good morning, good morning. Here's what I will tell you. It has been a messy commute for some people this morning. We're beginning to hit some of those delays. It's gone back and forth. You can see some brake lights here, at least I can. Of course, we knew that this was coming in the coming weeks, but we didn't know exactly how soon it would be. As you said, it's because of that bad weather that we're seeing bad road conditions, which means they decided we needed to close it. Now, here's what you need to know exactly about this closure. Westbound I-96 and M14 from I-275 all the way to Sheldon Road will be knocked down to one lane, and the southbound I-275 ramp to westbound M14 will be closed. Those restrictions are expected to last the rest of the year, at least until the fall. And the detour for the southbound I-275 ramp closure to westbound M14 will continue further south to westbound I-94 to northbound US 23 to M14. Now, listen here to what MDOT's Diane Cross told me just a few minutes ago.
With all the rain we had, it just destroyed the road, which was already on its last leg, which is why we're reconstructing the freeway. And because of all the rain, we had so many holes and potholes in the road, and folks kept having flat tires that we had to shut it down. So right now, West 96, as you come into Newburgh, we got to take you down to one lane, which is what's traveling behind us. And then southbound 275 drivers, you cannot head west on M14 because it just is in too rough a shape. You'd be on the shoulder having to change tires, and nobody wants to do that.
That's right. Nobody wants to do that. Of course, she mentioned that this is part of the larger project. So if you want more information on that, you can go to m14reconstruction.org. For now, though, we're live here in western Wayne County. Kyla Russell, Local 4.
Now, here's your time saver traffic.
Thanks, Kyla. Let me put it a different way. Ain't nobody got time for that. Let's put it that way. Be more direct and frank. North and southbound I-275, the ramp to westbound M14, the northbound as well as southbound, you cannot get on M14 westbound in that area because of that, what was just talked about. Also, there's lane closures. If you're on I-96 and you're headed westbound, you go from multiple lanes down to one lane. That's why you see these little delays that are showing up as well. Let's get to our alternate route to help you work your way around. Southbound I-275 to westbound M14, here is the alternate route. Stay on southbound I-275, take that to westbound I-94, take that to northbound US 23, and then take that back to M14. And here is the route for the northbound. If you're headed northbound I-275, take that all the way down to that I-96 interchange, 96 interchange, jump on westbound I-96, take that to southbound US 23, back to M14. It's a long route, but it keeps you on the freeway and avoids the surface road, so at least you can stay that way.
Darnell, thank you so much. You're right. Ain't nobody got time for that. And a lot of things people ain't had time for is this crazy weather we've had here in Michigan. Anybody who's lived in this state has heard it before. And in a 36-hour span, we really experienced all 4 seasons. So across the state, we saw everything from record high temperatures here in southeast Michigan to severe thunderstorms and freezing rain, which turned over to ice and then finally snow. And now the cold temperatures have made their way back in. It's a lot that's been happening. So let's take a trip around the state of Michigan and see exactly what's been going on. We start here in the city of Detroit on Tuesday afternoon. That's where we got our first aggressive taste of spring, as well as a little bit of summer. On Tuesday, you may remember how phenomenal that day was. 75 degrees. It was perfect baseball weather. By Tuesday night, however, we did see this in the city of Detroit. That's right, those strong thunderstorms and flooding that hit across the metro area. Those flood risks went into Wednesday afternoon, and while the storms thankfully weren't severe here, it was a different story throughout the rest of the state. We'll head to the west side of the state in Grand Rapids, where they did see thunderstorms that brought in large hail as well as flooding. Now check out some of these pictures. We have hail out there that's the size of golf balls. And remember, it was still pretty cold on the west side of the state, so the snow that was still on the ground started floating as the floodwaters came up onto the highways and stranded drivers. Now we go from the thunderstorms in Grand Rapids further north to Gaylord, where there was freezing rain. And they also dealt with ice, as several areas throughout northern Michigan, like Alpena, were under ice storm warnings in the last 24 hours. If you look beyond that leprechaun snowman, for example, and check out the trees behind him, you'll see the layer of ice on the branches. And this ice storm comes nearly a year after that different major ice storm hit northern Michigan last year and that caused millions of dollars in damage. Now, finally, we go from Gaylord all the way up into the UP, Houghton to be exact, in the Keweenaw Peninsula, which is where we fully head back to winter. In fact, they've been dealing with winter storm warnings for the last 24 hours. Houghton picked up 6.5 inches of snow. Now, you throw in the snow that fell on Monday, and that number jumps to nearly 10 inches of snow. We got a lot going on here. It's a busy last couple of days. The Keweenaw Peninsula has seen more than 300 inches of snow this winter. That's more than 25 feet. And that's still about 90 inches short of the all-time record, which was 390, that was set back in 1979. So, Ashley, I need a moment here to kind of catch my breath, because back here in Metro Detroit, as mentioned, Tuesday, 75-degree weather, unbelievable day. And now it's not going to make it out of the 30s, apparently, when we get into the weekend. Are we just experiencing Michigan at like full peak right now, basically?
Right, you get all 4 seasons within a week stretch, and that's Michigan in a nutshell for you. So yeah, you just wait 5 minutes and we'll give you something else. But this is that time of year where we have those fluctuating conditions, which is taking us into severe weather season, because you have those big swings and it can be dangerous, like we saw the tornadoes on the west side of the state. And so just recapping, as you mentioned, I mean, we did have record high temperatures on Tuesday, so less than 48 hours ago, where we shattered the old record of 70 and had 75 degrees reported over at DTW. And then, as you mentioned, up north, I mean, you just go north of the bridge there, and we still have winter storm warnings that are in effect. And so multiple seasons that we're experiencing just across our great state within a day. Right now, as we take a live look, we're getting some beautiful sunshine. However, as you step outside, you're going to notice a big difference today. It's a lot cooler to start. 29 degrees in the city, 25 in Ann Arbor, 27 in Pontiac, and 28 in Monroe. And then feeling colder with the wind chill, given that we have a northwesterly breeze for today. So wind gusts right now, I would say between about 20 to 30 miles per hour, and they're going to hover there throughout much of the day. So that 42 that we're forecasting, which is on par with where we should be, but a drastic change from the 75 we had just 2 days ago. Well, that's near average, but feeling colder than average because of wind chill readings today that will likely not exceed the 30s. Now, we do have to talk about a high wind watch, because we've been so focused on the fluctuating temperatures, but the high wind watch goes into effect at 5 a.m. Friday until 8 p.m. Friday. This was issued early this morning in anticipation of wind gusts tomorrow that could peak around 50 to 55 miles per hour. On top of that, Jay, we're going to have a rain-snow mix, and not just a mixture, but accumulating snow in portions of southeast Michigan. So that fickle weather continues to roll on. We want to make sure folks are prepared, and so we're going to dive into the details of that in the full forecast.
It just sounds fantastic. Just we go from 75 degrees
No.
to a rain snow mix, accumulating snow. This is Michigan in the month of March. You never really know what to expect.
It is. So hopefully it'll go out like a lamb. Like, let's just get all this out of the way.
Let's get to Tigers opening date, where normally it's actually kind of cold, just like this, to be perfectly honest.
That's true.
But we're surviving out here. Thank you so much, Ashley. She's going to be back with us, of course, throughout the show with updates on the forecast. In fact, here's a live look at Houston. Say good morning to our friends down there at KPRC, our sister station, where people are either headed to one of the city's airports, and they're going to have to get there very early. That's because lines at security checkpoints have stretched for hours at airports across the country to start this week as the partial government shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security continues to drag on. And with this being the start of spring break, Yvonne Rodriguez has a look at what travelers can expect.
Whether you're flying domestic or international, one thing seems to be clear. You'll want to get to the airport even earlier than you normally would to account for longer security at the airport, especially as the shutdown drags on. Funding for the Department of Homeland Security lapsed in mid-February amid the standoff between Republicans and Democrats over federal immigration reform.
With everything going on in the last couple of weeks, I think people could be forgiven for forgetting that we are in a partial government shutdown and that many of the impacted employees happen to work at the TSA.
Eric Rosen with The Points Guy says one of the reasons why we're seeing long lines at some major airports across the country is because TSA workers are set to miss their first paycheck this week.
Which means some of them probably have to call out. Some of them probably have to take other jobs so they can't meet their regular shifts, which has been resulting in bottlenecks at some major airports.
Over the last few days, some of the airports witnessing the longest TSA security lines include Houston's William P. Hobby Airport, Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport, and Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport.
I would say as the shutdown drags on, we're only likely to see more and more bottlenecks, not just at the airports that have been affected so far, but at further airports as well.
Rosen says one way future travelers can prepare is by staying on top of any and all updates from your airline and airport.
Stay on top of the social media handles and the websites of any airports you're flying through to see if they monitor the security wait times and how up to date they are, and also to give yourself plenty of extra time. I'm thinking a good 30 to 60 minutes more than you normally would.
These delays come as DHS braces for a new leader. After President Trump fired Secretary Kristi Noem last week, he tapped Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin to replace her starting March 31st. In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Now let's take a look at how it's going out there at Detroit Metro Airport. So far, there have been 34 delays and 12 cancellations at Metro. And according to the airport's website, security wait times at the Evans terminal, that's about 6 minutes, while it's around 5 minutes on the other side at the McNamara terminal. Now, coming up on this Thursday edition of Local 4 Live, we're going to have an update on the Gordie Howe International Bridge, including how much it's going to cost to cross that bridge headed back over to Canada. Plus, a program is changing lives by helping people achieve part of the American dream, and that's owning a home. We'll have more on that coming up when Local 4 Live returns. And welcome back to this Thursday edition of Local 4 Live, 8:15 here and in Detroit. A deadly fire outside of a vacant building on 3rd Street near the Lodge at MLK Boulevard is currently under investigation. Now, at first, police believed that someone had been electrocuted while attempting to steal electricity. However, firefighters believe that it was a propane heater that started the fire and not a theft. A woman died in the fire and a man was hospitalized with severe burns. Now, we stay in the city where a hairstylist has been arrested after she pulled an assault rifle on a woman during an argument over money, and we have video of the incident. Check this out.
The out my house and say
So yeah, there you go. The whole incident happened at the hairstylist's home. Now, right now, there's no word on what charges she could face as prosecutors are continuing to review the case. Meanwhile, a new case of measles has been confirmed in Washtenaw County, and health officials say it was an adult who visited several places in Ypsilanti and an urgent care in Canton. It's believed they caught measles, a disease that was once deemed eradicated in the U.S. due to vaccines, during a trip to Florida. Officials encourage people to watch for measles symptoms over the next 21 days, and if you feel sick, call your doctor before going to an urgent care or an emergency room to avoid exposing others. And in Gibraltar, a data center is on hold, and homeowners are fighting to keep it that way. The plan would reuse the old McLouth steel plant on West Jefferson. Now, the city says that zoning rules allow data centers on the property, but residents are concerned, and they voiced their opinion at a public meeting last night.
Our concerns are really the pollution, the noise, the water. It's understandably not as big as the one in Saline, but still not something that is going to serve the community.
Now, the city says the proposal is paused for a year to allow time for a study on the center's impact on both the environment and the community. And the Gordie Howe International Bridge plans to offer cheaper toll prices. Now, it's going to cost a standard passenger vehicle $5.75 to cross the new Gordie Howe Bridge. By contrast, the Ambassador Bridge charges $10 and the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel costs $9. Now, there's no word on when the bridge is going to officially open, but that's expected later on in the spring. And if you're someone who plans to regularly cross that bridge, you can scan the QR code right there on your screen. It'll take you to a full price comparison. Now, over the last few days, we've seen 70-degree weather and heavy rain, and now it's back to high winds and cold temperatures. Forewarned meteorologist Ashley Barris is going to have the updated forecast when Local 4 Live returns. And welcome back to this Thursday edition of Local 4 Live. And I'm joined by forewarned meteorologist Ashley Barris. And Ash, this weather has just been playing with our emotions really for the last few days, unfortunately. And now it looks like the cold is kind of getting set to lock back in for a little while.
Right. I mean, you have to think about we are still officially in winter, even though we're meteorological spring. I mean, it kind of feels like the tale of two different seasons. And so yeah, here we are looking at some winter weather that could arrive as early as tomorrow morning. But let's go ahead and get to the headlines, because today, as we're preparing you, if you haven't stepped outside yet, it is a bit cooler out there. I mean, we have seasonal 40s on tap this afternoon, but even that is a little misleading because it will at best feel like low 30s. We will have some gusty winds on tap, but today's winds will feel like nothing compared to tomorrow, as the winds, well, at least the speeds, will be doubling of what we have on tap for today. So we're talking gusts upward of 40 to 50, maybe even 55 miles per hour. And in anticipation of those high damaging winds, a high wind watch was issued early this morning ahead of the event. It goes into effect at 5 a.m. Friday until 8 p.m. on Friday, so a good chunk of the day. We'll talk more about that in detail in a moment, but I also want to make sure that you're aware that this isn't just a wind event. The wind ushering in some winter weather, as we will have a rain-snow mix arriving before we even get to daybreak Friday. Right now, though, we're in the wake of that frontal passage, that cold front well off to the east, and that did bring us rain showers yesterday. Now we have clearer skies, but with the clear skies, at least throughout the overnight, we saw those temperatures slide, so that's giving us the cooler start. High pressure building in over Texas. In fact, there's a ridge in the jet stream out west, and so that will continue to bring warmth for the western half of the country. But for all of us on the eastern half, well, we're dealing with cooler conditions because of that cold front that I just showed you. So temperatures right now are sitting in the 20s. We do have 30 in Monroe, but that is our outlier because the rest of us are in the mid to upper 20s with sunshine to start, and then we will rebound to about 42 for the high. Now that is on par with March averages, but we'll feel colder with those winds. It's a northwesterly breeze, so it'll make it feel like 32 or 33 this afternoon. Brisk day. Here's today's winds, but watch it compared to tomorrow's. Boom, we double those, and so now they're off the charts. We do have upward of those 45-mile-per-hour wind gusts come tomorrow. So high wind watch for southeast Michigan. That's from 5 a.m. until 8 p.m. as I mentioned. You can see the entire area under that watch, which will get upgraded at some point to either an advisory or warning. The watch is in anticipation of the event. But clouds and radar, I'm not going to run a very isolated sprinkle to our south later this afternoon. Most of us are getting the sunshine, so you don't have to worry about that much. But after midnight, that's when we start to see more of that rain-snow mix. So some snow could trickle as far south as I-94, but that rain-snow line will lift before daybreak, 4 or 5 a.m. to about M59. So that's where I anticipate the accumulating snow along and north of that corridor. We'll have a lull with a couple little light sprinkles into the afternoon, and that could transition more to some flurries in some spots of southeastern Michigan by later in the day Friday. So how much snow are we talking? Well, maybe you get about a half of an inch close to Metro Airport, but that could get washed away with the rain. But the areas that persistently have more widespread snow, probably about 1 to 2 inches of accumulation, though I won't rule out a couple pockets closer to 3. We're bookending the weekend with another bout of winter weather. You can see here on Sunday morning some snow that could change over to some rain as we get into, I would say, the early part of Monday before that will transition back to some snow. It looks like my model just wants to be stuck there, but we can even have a few embedded thunderstorms at times as we head into Monday as well. So there's the wacky weather for you, but a big drop in temperature Sunday to Monday with that front. 46 Sunday. Highs only around 30 for the first half of next week.
We definitely are going to work out these last few days of winter, it feels like, but also a little bit of everything happening again this weekend, too.
Just a great reminder to have that forewarned weather app, because you need to check it before you step out the door every morning. You're not sure what season you're getting. So
absolutely.
This is, the
you
time
want to make
checking that.
Absolutely. Have that forewarned weather app. Make sure you keep a jacket in your car, because now it's officially that time of year.
And an umbrella.
And the umbrella, too. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashley. Now, a huge hurdle in buying a home is having enough money to cover the down payment. An extra $25,000 could just help out a lot of people who are trying to do just that. And it's part of a new program the city of Detroit is implementing. And we'll tell you who's qualified for that help when Local 4 Live returns. Good Thursday morning. I'm Jay Scott Smith with a Local 4 update. The man who confessed to killing and hiding the body of Naziah Harris is set to be sentenced this afternoon. Now, Jarvis Butts admitted to dumping the 13-year-old body in the Rouge River near 7 Mile and Berg back in January of 2024. Police searched that area when Naziah first disappeared. He'll be sentenced at 12 noon today. And coming up on Local 4 Live and Local 4 Plus, the Lions are making a few moves ahead of the 2026 season. We'll break down the changes as NFL free agency kicks off. Plus, it's an old problem with a new solution. We'll tell you how road crews are testing out a new mix to fill up those nasty potholes. And no girl should miss out on prom because of the price tag. We're going to be easing the burden of soaring costs for dresses in our next Go For It event. Now, Ashley Barris is going to have a look at the Thursday forecast coming up in just a moment.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. This is the 12th day of March, 2026. I'm Jay Scott Smith, and we're going to start this half hour in Washington, where the president is trying to ease concerns over those soaring gas prices. Now, as U.S. officials reveal the massive amount of money that's already been spent on this war in Iran, Democrats want more answers about outdated intelligence being blamed for the missile attack on an Iranian elementary school. NBC News' Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
Hi there. Overnight, oil prices pushed back up toward the $100 a barrel mark, even as the U.S. and other countries move to release emergency stockpiles. Analysts tell NBC News that won't make up for all the lost supply and that gas prices are likely to keep going up. This morning, an intensifying war within the war over that critical oil route, the Strait of Hormuz. Iran launching new attacks on ships, keeping tanker traffic at a standstill in a bid to drive oil prices even higher. With gas prices here at home up 20% since the start of the war, the U.S. joining dozens of countries agreeing to release 400 million barrels of oil to try to drive prices down.
We're going to be doing it very quickly, and then we'll fill it up. We'll fill up our reserves.
Pentagon officials telling senators in a closed-door briefing the first 6 days of the war with Iran are estimated to have cost more than $11.3 billion. That according to 3 sources familiar with the briefing. President Trump sending mixed messages about the war's status.
Let me say, we've won. You know, you never like to say too early you won. We won.
Minutes later.
We don't want to leave early, do we? We got to finish the job.
And now new information from a U.S. military investigation into the missile strike on an Iranian elementary school at the start of the war that killed 170 people, mostly children, according to Iranian officials. NBC News has learned preliminary results find the U.S. was likely responsible due to outdated intelligence believed to have mislabeled the school as a military target, according to a U.S. official and 3 sources familiar with the initial findings. Senate Democrats demanding answers from the Defense Department.
It's important that the DOD figures out how did this happen and then put things in place to make sure it does not happen again.
President Trump has said he would live with the investigation's findings.
You may have heard reports about an FBI bulletin sent to police departments in California, warning Iran could launch drones from ships off the coast. A federal law enforcement source tells NBC News that was sent only for awareness and that there is no credible evidence or intelligence about an imminent attack. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
Now, here in Michigan, gas prices are still averaging about $3.60 for the 3rd consecutive day. It's a 60-cent spike from 1 month ago, and AAA says it's not just the war in Iran that's led to the spike in gas prices. Spring break travel is also partially to blame. Meanwhile, the Michigan-based medical company Stryker is working to fix outages that were caused by a massive cyber attack. Now, Stryker released an updated version earlier this morning saying that they're working to get their global network operations back to normal. The company believes the attack is isolated and there are no signs of ransomware. And according to the Wall Street Journal, a pro-Palestinian hacking group is taking credit and claims it wiped devices and stole data. Now, the U.S. is investigating who is behind the cyber attack. Meanwhile, the man who killed 13-year-old Naziah Harris is set to be sentenced today. Jarvis Butts admitted to killing her in January 2024 and dumping her body in the Rouge River near 7 Mile and Berg. His sentencing includes a total of 6 other cases that he pled guilty to. His plea deals include a range of 10 to 60 years in prison, and he'll be sentenced today at 12 noon. Meanwhile, a Pontiac woman will be sentenced this afternoon for stealing welfare money that was meant for her kids. Kelly Bryant is also accused of leaving her 3 kids to live alone in filth for years, and she pled no contest on the fraud charges last year, but still faces the child abuse charges. And meanwhile, in Oakland County, people are also speaking up after being shut out. During an Oakland County Board of Commissioners meeting last night, we're told people were barred from both the Democratic and Republican caucus meetings, even after one commission member spoke up against the move. One closed-door session focused on an ICE resolution, and those who were shut out claimed the move violated open meetings laws. Now, to find out if this was actually legal, we reached out to an attorney who was not affiliated with the county.
I don't think it's a violation of the Open Meetings Act to meet with your counsel, but I don't understand how you meet separately.
It undercuts, even if they say that it's legal somehow, it undercuts the spirit of democracy and people's faith in their leaders.
Now, other commissioners and the county attorney would not speak with Local 4. However, we were told by the county's communications officer that both caucuses met with attorneys to discuss a legal opinion protected from disclosure under attorney-client privilege. Now, homeownership is one of the biggest drivers of generational wealth here in the United States. But, as you know, saving up for a down payment can be extremely difficult. However, there is a program here in the city of Detroit that's trying to help. Local 4's Damon Fernandez shows us how it works.
For Gail Gibson, the idea of home ownership in Detroit wasn't always top of mind.
Because I never owned a home, and I've been here all my life.
The lifelong Detroiter spent 10 years renting this house on the city's east side until her landlord reached out with some surprising news.
One morning, my landlord called me and told me he was going to either sell the house or go up on my rent. And I said, well, how much you gonna go up on the rent? He said $1,100.
Gibson had to make a decision, and in her research, learned about Detroit's down payment assistance program.
We have to have a path to home ownership for our residents to continue to build our middle class.
That first-time home buyer initiative important to Mayor Mary Sheffield. The popular program offers up to $25,000 in down payment assistance and closing costs.
For many residents, we know that the down payment is often the biggest barrier.
And potential home buyers will not have to navigate the process alone. The city's partnering with organizations like National Faith Home Buyers, connecting them with education and counseling assistance for success. Dina Harris is the nonprofit's executive director. Who's coming to you guys for help?
Everybody. Senior citizens are buying homes. Young people are buying homes. College graduates. It's amazing. Single women, single men. Not enough men. We're doing a call to action for men. Okay, it's time for you to buy your own home as well.
And remember Gail Gibson's rental house? Well, that program helped her purchase the property from her former landlord. Is this the Gibson family?
Yes, we all Gibson family.
In her case, she says home ownership is about generational wealth, making an impact for her daughter and granddaughter.
This is an investment in my family future, and it's also an investment for me.
Damon Fernandez, Local 4.
Now, the city is encouraging residents to look into the down payment assistance program, and they're expecting to help out about 450 first-time home buyers this time around. And we've also added a link to the program under this story on our website at clickondetroit.com. And even though it's March 12th, they're saying Happy New Year in the National Football League as free agency is underway. Now, coming up, we're breaking down the changes to the Lions roster and why a change in quarterback Jared Goff's contract could actually help the lads out. That's ahead when Local 4 Live returns. It's 8:40 here on Local 4 Live, and you are looking live at Ford Field, home of your Detroit football Lions. And the 2026 NFL League year has officially begun as free agency began at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. And a flurry of deals became official across the NFL. And the Lions are one of the teams that's made a few moves, with the most important was the team's restructuring of quarterback Jared Goff's deal. They converted $40 million into a signing bonus that frees up about $32 million in cap space. So let's take a look at who the Lions are signing and keeping. First, you have former Kansas City Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco. He's now going to be a part of the new running back duo with Jahmyr Gibbs. The Lions also added center Cade Mays, offensive tackles Larry Borum and Juice Scruggs, and they brought back backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. Plus, they re-signed linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez and cornerback Rock Ya-Sin. Unfortunately, there have been some losses. As you know, last week, David Montgomery was traded to the Houston Texans. Alex Anzalone signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Surprisingly, Amik Robertson left for the Washington Commanders. Khalif Raymond, my goodness, he signed with the Chicago Bears. Come on, what are you doing? Roy Lopez went back to the Arizona Cardinals, and backup quarterback Kyle Allen left for the Buffalo Bills. Plus, the Lions also released offensive lineman Graham Glasgow, Taylor Decker, and defensive lineman Josh Paschal, all to clear up more cap space. So there's a lot going on here. So to break all this down, Derek Hutchinson joins us. He's our executive producer on clickondetroit.com. So Derek, kind of what is there to make of all the different moves here, and starting with Goff's restructure?
Yeah, it's a lot, right? I mean, but nothing major yet. Obviously, they restructured Goff's deal. You can play with those kind of things in the NFL because the cap is always increasing, so that was kind of a formality. But the biggest move to me so far has just been that the Lions are addressing the offensive line. That's kind of getting back to their roots. When they're at their best, they're elite on the offensive line. So they're just trying to really create a lot of depth there.
It's like when you look at how this thing went left on the Lions last year, it's when the offensive line injuries started to kick in, where Ratledge's lack of experience. But for a while early in the year, it looked like it was working out. And then as soon as one injury hits, and then you need Frank and you need Ragnow back, but you're not getting him back, things kind of went bad for them. So to get that offensive line, get those trenches together, that's the thing that made them what they were just in the last couple of years.
Yeah, they kind of built it on a weak foundation, right? So as soon as something went wrong, it all just fell apart. And then Goff fell apart, and then you couldn't get the ball to your playmakers. And it was just a mess. So I'm glad that the Lions see that. Some of the guys that they got rid of on the offensive line are big names, but weren't necessarily productive anymore. So I'm glad to see that they're sort of turning over that lineup and getting some new guys in there.
So, and speaking of turning over the lineup and getting some new guys in there, they're going to have to fill some holes defensively, too. They lost Amik Robertson to the Commanders. You lose a couple of other guys on defense. You lose Alex Anzalone, where, say what you will about him, it's like, yeah, it looked like the defense was kind of handed over to Jack Campbell at a certain point last year. That's still a big loss for them on the defensive end. And plus, there's always the ever-present issue of who's the other edge going to be, along with Aiden Hutchinson, because there are two edges on a defensive line, not one.
It's the new who's going to pitch the ninth inning in Detroit. It's who's the other edge rusher across from Aiden Hutchinson. And I think we're still going to have to wait to find out. But yeah, the secondary is a big question too, like you said, because Amik Robertson was kind of Mr. Reliable the last couple of years. And with Terrion Arnold struggling and Rock Yassin coming back, I mean, there's a lot of questions in that secondary. In terms of linebackers, I think the Anzalone loss is more of like it hurts as a fan.
Yeah.
But on the field, I think the Lions are comfortable sort of seeing if Malcolm Rodriguez can step into that similar role. And yeah, Jack Campbell just continues to improve.
Because you kind of forget, like before he got hurt during the 15-2 season, Malcolm Rodriguez was actually very reliable. They were kind of using him as a rotational linebacker. Then he blows his ACL, and that kind of changed the calculus on him. Another thing in the defense is you have Brian Branch, who's going to be coming back at some point, probably October, November, from the Achilles injury. You don't know what's going on with Kirby Joseph, and the Terrion Arnold thing off the field could be a problem. And it's Rakestraw, who just has barely played at all, because as soon as they drafted him, he kept getting hurt. It's like that's going to be one of the biggest changes for this Lions team. What could possibly happen here? Because some of the bigger names have slowly but surely dropped off. And the Lions, I guess is my last question here, do get criticized for not being the most aggressive free agent-wise. Do you see them making any sort of moves before we start heading toward the draft, which is coming up in a few weeks?
Yeah, I think they're gonna land an edge rusher somewhere, whether it's in free agency or the draft. I think they're going to. I don't see the Lions trading for like Max Crosby.
No, I doubt that's gonna happen.
Yeah, but I could see them using an early round draft pick now that they've sort of shored up the interior of the offensive line in free agency. It gives them a little bit more flexibility to use that first round draft pick if they like an edge rusher, because this draft is very deep in edge rushers. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to address that there.
So obviously we'll be keeping an eye on what's happening with Lions free agency. Of course, you can go over to clickondetroit.com, where Derek is the executive producer. And of course, anything that happens, we'll get it to you first on clickondetroit.com. Derek, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Jay.
Now, an intense round of storms smashed into our neighbors in Illinois and Indiana. In fact, here's a live look over in fact, that's the city of Chicago right now, where a monster twister tore through parts of the state of Illinois just south of the Chicagoland area. We'll have more on the damage when Local 4 Live returns. And welcome back to Local 4 Live on this Thursday morning. And you are looking live at the beautiful city of Chicago. However, there's a community just south of Chicago that is cleaning up after a tornado. And in Indiana, a community is grief-stricken after 2 people were killed when deadly tornadoes as well as large hail tore through that part of the state. Now, in addition to all of the causing those tragic deaths, the severe weather also left lots of devastation in its wake. We have more from Reed Binion.
This is devastating. I'm sorry, I'm just lost for words.
A community grief-stricken after 2 people were tragically killed when a tornado ripped through Lake Village, Indiana.
She was good to everyone, all the kids. She was a good person. They were wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. This was their home forever. I mean, they were there forever.
The couple, both in their 80s, killed when the twister struck their home. On top of those 2 fatalities, the tornado trapped some in their homes and left a heartbreaking trail of destruction in its wake. Total devastation, as one official put it, with at least 100 structures damaged as of Wednesday's count, including dozens destroyed, numbers that are expected to rise. Indiana Governor Mike Braun said on social media that first responders, state and local officials, and the American Red Cross were providing immediate support to communities. That tornado wasn't the only one in the area. There was also a monster twister that tore through Kankakee, Illinois, and nearby Aroma Park, Illinois. There were several injuries, but no deaths, according to Kankakee's mayor. The severe weather also included destructive hail, some of it softball size or larger, that crushed cars and caused damage in Illinois.
It was intense. The windows were getting knocked out of the houses. The golf ball size hail, bigger than golf ball, softball size hail.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
Now, that is just purely just shocking just to kind of see that level of devastation. And even when we think about what happened on Friday out in West Michigan as well, storms like that at this time of year, that is a big concern.
Well, right, because we're not even in the peak of the season. I mean, we have to get into May, June to really be in the peak season, but you're seeing huge fluctuations with temperatures right now. And so that's obviously leading to a lot of the instability that we have out there. So, you know, fingers crossed that maybe this little cool down we have will bring slightly calmer conditions. And I say that because we do have high winds in store going into tomorrow, but at least not a significant severe threat other than the fact that there could be some damaging winds as far as knocking out some power lines and things like that. But today, brisk, not overly gusty, seasonal, as we'll be in the 40s but feeling like 30s. High wind watch will go into effect before daybreak tomorrow, lasting into tomorrow evening. And then a rain-snow mix comes along with that as we round out the work week. But for now, as we look at satellite radar, you can see drier conditions draping a good portion of the Great Lakes, including clear skies where we have the cloud cover and the rain draping that cold front that pushed through yesterday, but that's now well off to the east. And so there's a ridge of high pressure that's going to impact the western half of the U.S. with warmer conditions today. And in the wake of that front that passed over us yesterday, now we have cooler conditions in the eastern half of the U.S. So that's really the temperature setup for today. Right now, we are at 32 degrees or colder. So we have risen to the freezing mark in Monroe, but we're still holding on to a lot of 20s out there. But an ample amount of sunshine, meaning you want the sunglasses today. You'll regret it if you're driving around without them. 42 for the high, but with winds gusting upward of 20 miles per hour, could feel more like low 30s at times this afternoon. So there will be a wind chill factor for this Thursday. Today's winds, you can see here that we will have those gusts around 20 to 25 miles per hour, but watch what happens tomorrow. They're going off the charts for a little bit as we will have those gusts closer to 50 miles per hour, and that puts us in that high wind watch. So for southeast Michigan, the exact time frame, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. So before sunrise and even after sunset, we're holding on to the high wind watch. Now let's take you through the timeline of precipitation because we have that to go along with it. You can see we do pick up just a very isolated, probably a little sprinkle or so as we get into the middle part of the afternoon. That's South I-94. Not everyone will see that. And then we have a line of what would be some snow and rain coming in right after midnight, but becomes more widespread by the time we get after 4 a.m. So that will be a little more persistent in the thumb region where snow will accumulate. The rest will be dealing with kind of a fluctuation of rain and snow. We get a bit of a break, but I do think that we could see a few more flurries develop in the later part of your Friday. So when it's all said and done with your snowfall forecast, some projections here put us maybe around a half of an inch closer to Metro Airport, which that could get washed away with some of that rain, but definitely a good shot of about 1 to 2 inches as you get closer to M59 and then north of that into the thumb. So that will start our weekend because, you know, Friday starts the weekend with a wintry mix. And then as we head into Sunday, we get another shot at some snow that could change over to rain, even a few thunderstorms at times going in the early part of your Monday before changing back over to some snow with a big cool down. Now, I have tweaked our temperatures a bit in the 7-day forecast, looking at some new model data, and that puts our temperatures potentially in the 50s on Sunday before we fall about 15 to almost 20 degrees going into Monday. So there's going to be that big weather whiplash again to start next week.
It's the life of late winter, early spring in Michigan. You never really know what you're going to get.
It's Sprinter, J. Scott Smith.
Sprinter. I like that.
Yes.
I'm going to have to use that one.
There you go.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Now, coming up here on Local 4 Live on this Thursday morning.
What's in the mix? How about rubber? Road crews are using it on this road here in Pittsfield Township. Why this could be the perfect combination to keep potholes at bay.
And welcome back to Local 4 Live on this Thursday morning. It's 8:55, and potholes, as you well know, are a massive problem here in the state of Michigan. But there could be a solution. Road crews are testing out a new type of asphalt that uses recycled tire rubber, and 2 counties are trying to see if it lasts longer and even cuts down on some of the road noise. Will Jones shows us how it works and what they'll be looking to cover over the next couple of years.
Over 280 million tires are discarded every year in the U.S. We found this pile just driving around town. What you may not know is that some old tires are being used to reduce the likelihood that you will hit a pothole on the road.
It's called rubber modified asphalt. Old tires are ground down into a fine powder and mixed with asphalt. Right now, the Washtenaw County Road Commission is putting rubber modified asphalt to the test on Ellsworth Road between Carpenter and Platt.
If you're a motorist, you might notice it being slightly quieter when you ride over the rubberized section.
Rubber modified asphalt is believed to increase pavement lifespan and reduce long-term road maintenance costs.
This is a busy stretch of road carrying about 20,000 vehicles each day. Researchers want to see how well the material holds up under real traffic and weather conditions.
This type of asphalt will not likely going to crack easily. So we're not likely to have some potholes in the near future.
We're going to observe this over the next couple of years, see how it compares to the control section of Ellsworth Road. And if it does well, then we might anticipate using more of it in the future.
The Bay County Road Commission is also using rubber in its roads, planning about 2 miles of rubber modified asphalt this year. Road officials say using rubber in roads isn't new, but the technology has improved significantly.
Processes, what we're doing now with rubber is completely different than what they did, 30 years ago when it didn't work so well.
So what about cost? Well, the rubber mix is more expensive, but it's expected to last longer and require less maintenance, so the savings will come over time. Will Jones, Local 4.
Now, another hour of Local 4 Live on this Thursday morning is coming your way, and that includes an HOA nightmare, as neighbors have been forced to pay bills for condos that were destroyed years ago. We're going to be breaking down that legal battle in the city of Southfield. Plus, do you have any dresses you haven't worn in a while? Well, it could mean a lot to a teen who might not have anything to wear to their prom. We'll tell you how you can help. And we're getting back out on the roads as emergency repairs continue in western Wayne County. All that's coming up in the 9 o'clock hour of Local 4 Live here on Local 4 Plus. We'll see you then. It's 9 a.m. here on Local 4 Plus. Welcome to Local 4 Live on a very busy Thursday morning. We're starting off your day with an unexpected impact to the commute, as busy Wayne County interchange is now closed because of the road is crumbling, and officials don't want you driving on it. So we'll have everything you need to know. Plus, gas prices are up once again overnight across the country. We'll tell you what you're paying here in Michigan and what a difference a day makes across Metro Detroit in terms of temperatures, because they are dropping, and snow is going to be back in the forecast. Forewarned meteorologist Ashley Barrissey will be here to break it all down coming up.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
9 o'clock here on Local 4 Live. Good Thursday morning. I'm Jay Scott Smith. Let's start this 9 o'clock hour with those emergency repairs on the roads in western Wayne County. Now, according to MDOT, westbound I-96 and M14 at the I-275 interchange is under an emergency closure because of the poor road conditions. In fact, check this out right now. We'll show you exactly what we're talking about. From I-275 to Sheldon Road, the freeway is down to one lane. This is being blamed on all the extreme weather changes we've seen over the last month. Now, Kyla Russell has been out on those roads all morning long and has more on what you need to know.
The backup's certainly making a messy commute for some this morning. We are seeing many brake lights kind of as we travel along here. Of course, we knew this closure was coming, but we did not know how soon it would be. We're being told that because of that bad weather, it's causing bad road conditions, and they decided to make this an emergency closure. Now, here's what you need to know about that closure. We know westbound I-96 and M14 from I-275 all the way to Sheldon Road will be knocked down to one lane, and the southbound I-275 ramp to westbound M14 will be closed. Those restrictions are expected to last the rest of the year, or at least until the fall. And the detour for the southbound I-275 ramp closure to westbound M14 will continue further south to westbound I-94 to northbound US 23 to M14. Now, listen here to what MDOT's Diane Cross told us this morning.
With all the rain we had, it just destroyed the road, which was already on its last leg, which is why we're reconstructing the freeway. And because of all the rain, we had so many holes and potholes in the road, and folks kept having flat tires that we had to shut it down. So right now, West 96, as you come into Newburgh, we got to take you down to one lane, which is what's traveling behind us. And then southbound 275 drivers, you cannot head west on M14 because it just is in too rough a shape. You'd be on the shoulder having to change tires, and nobody wants to do that.
Now, of course, Diane mentioned this is part of that overall project. If you want more information on that project, you can go to m14reconstruction.org. Here in Western Wayne County, I'm Kyla Russell, Local 4.
Now, here's your time saver traffic.
Thanks, Kyla. Let me put it a different way. Ain't nobody got time for that. Let's put it that way. Be more direct and frank. North and southbound I-275, the ramp to westbound M14, the northbound as well as southbound, you cannot get on M14 westbound in that area because of that, what was just talked about. Also, there's lane closures. If you're on I-96 and you're headed westbound, you go from multiple lanes down to one lane. That's why you see these little delays that are showing up as well. Let's get to our alternate route to help you work your way around. Southbound I-275 to westbound M14, here is the alternate route. Stay on southbound I-275, take that to westbound I-94, take that to northbound US 23, and then take that back to M14. And here is the route for the northbound. If you're headed northbound I-275, take that all the way down to that I-96 interchange, 96 interchange, jump on westbound I-96, take that to southbound US 23 back to M14. It's a long route, but it keeps you on the freeway and avoids the surface road, so at least you can stay that way.
Thank you so much, Darnell. And in the city of Detroit, a deadly fire outside of a vacant building on 3rd Street near the Lodge and MLK Boulevard is currently under investigation. Now, at first, police believe someone had been electrocuted while attempting to steal electricity from the building. However, firefighters believe it was a propane heater that started the fire and not a theft. A woman died in the fire, and a man was hospitalized with severe burns. Now, we stay in the city where a hairstylist has been arrested after she pulled an assault rifle on a woman during an argument over money. And we have video of the incident. Check it out.
Get the out my house and say, I'll shoot you. No, I'll shoot you.
The whole argument apparently stemmed over $10, and the whole incident happened at the hairstylist's home. And right now, there's no word on what charges she could be facing, as prosecutors are currently reviewing this case. We now head out to Washtenaw County, where health officials are warning the public about a confirmed case of measles in an adult. Now, the health department says that the person recently traveled to Florida, which is where they likely caught measles. Now, you can look at this list of exposure locations. We go back to March 4th, the Sidetrack Bar in Ypsilanti, a T-Mobile store and a Cricket Wireless store the following day in Ypsilanti, a CVS and a Cricket Wireless again in Ypsilanti on March 6th. Also, an Ypsilanti Urgent Care on the 7th and a Canton Urgent Care on March 8th. If you were at any of those locations, health officials say you should watch for measles symptoms, assuming you're not vaccinated, over the next 21 days.
We've got the tools. These are diseases that we know how to combat. We know how to make sure families don't get measles. The vaccine is 97% effective if you get 2 doses of the MMR vaccine. So this is a really good time to make sure you're up to date with all your vaccinations. And again, talk to your healthcare provider.
It is interesting that she does note that measles once was considered eradicated because of vaccines. Now, if you start to feel sick, call your healthcare provider first. And doctors say don't just walk into a clinic, urgent care, and emergency room without calling ahead because you don't want to risk exposing others. And for a complete list of exposure sites as well as symptoms to watch out for, head on over to our website at clickondetroit.com. And a data center in Gibraltar is on hold, and homeowners are fighting to keep it that way. The plan would reuse the old McLouth steel plant on West Jefferson. Now, the city says zoning rules allow data centers on the property, but residents are concerned, and they're voicing their opinions like they did last night at a public meeting.
Our concerns are really the pollution, the noise, the water. It's understandably not as big as the one in Saline, but still not something that is going to serve the community.
Now, the city says the proposal is paused for a year to allow time for the study on the center's impact on the environment as well as the community. And tomorrow, TSA agents are going to miss their first full paycheck, while hundreds are calling it quits as the partial government shutdown drags on. According to officials, more than 300 TSA officers have quit since the Department of Homeland Security shut down last month. Now, we've been telling you all week that call-offs have been doubling at major airports, and lawmakers can't agree on immigration reforms to pass a funding bill for the department. Experts say if you're traveling over the next few weeks, you want to stay on top of updates from your air carrier.
Stay on top of the social media handles and the websites of any airports you're flying through to see if they monitor the security wait times and how up to date they are, and also to give yourself plenty of extra time. I'm thinking a good 30 to 60 minutes more than you normally would.
Now, let's take a look at how it's going out there at Detroit Metro Airport. So far, there have been 43 delays and 12 cancellations at the airport. According to their website, security wait times in the Evans terminal are about 6 minutes, while it's about 8 minutes on the other side over in the McNamara terminal. And oil prices have gone through the roof. And even though a historic amount of emergency oil was just released, the pain, it's still going to hit your wallet. You're seeing it at the gas tank right now. Coming up, we'll show you the big picture as gas prices rise and play into the overall inflation nationwide. That's ahead on Local 4 Live. And welcome back to Local 4 Live on this Thursday morning. And gas prices are up across the country for the 12th straight day. The war in Iran sent crude oil prices up again overnight. Even after the approval of a historic release from reserves, it's still not bringing those prices back down. In fact, gas prices here in the state of Michigan are averaging $3.60 a gallon for the third consecutive day. That's a 60-cent spike from the cost from 1 month ago. And it comes as we're also getting a look at the latest inflation report. Karen Kafa is in Washington with more on what's next.
Overall annual inflation was steady in February, but prices did tick up from January, especially in some key areas. And the data was compiled before the recent spike in gas prices that's squeezing consumers right now.
Inflation held steady last month, according to government data released Wednesday. But economists warn a long conflict in Iran could push future prices higher.
If the conflict drags on and we start to see price increases in other consumer goods because of the increase in energy that increases the cost of production for the producers, then I think consumers are going to feel it in their pocketbooks a lot more.
Annual inflation was unchanged in February at 2.4%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The report's uptick in energy and gasoline prices between January and February didn't even account for the recent spike at the pumps now, because the February data was compiled before the U.S. and Israel struck Iran on February 28th. Aixa Diaz of AAA says spring is already a time of year when gas prices typically climb.
Springtime is when you've got spring break travelers, you've got gasoline demand going up, the weather's getting nicer, more people want to get out. And also summer blend gasoline will hit the market soon, and that's a more expensive blend of gasoline.
February's inflation report also showed overall increases in the cost of shelter and food. Highly imported goods feeling the impact of President Donald Trump's tariffs, like apparel, household furnishings, and coffee, and medical care. The state of the overall economy may depend upon how much price pressure consumers can take.
Economists have been surprised before at how robust consumer spending is. So I think the impact of sort of this inflationary run on consumer spending would be a little bit more unpredictable, in my opinion.
Of course, oil prices aren't just impacting the U.S. economy, they are impacting the world economy. And on Wednesday, member countries of the International Energy Agency unanimously agreed to the largest emergency oil stock release in history to try to stabilize prices around the globe. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Meanwhile, the Gordie Howe International Bridge has a price tag for the drivers. Now, the Windsor-Detroit Bridge Authority announced toll prices for the new bridge. Now, for a standard passenger, it's going to cost $5.75 to cross the bridge, which is significantly lower than both the Ambassador Bridge and the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel. Now, all you got to do, click on that QR code you see on the lower left-hand side of the screen. It's going to take you to a full breakdown of what the team at the Click on Detroit has put together, and we'll also have information on a program for people who cross the bridge more frequently. And it's a sign that spring is near. No, not those 75-degree temperatures we had a couple days ago. The Soo Locks are set to reopen later this month. It marks the start of the 2026 Great Lakes shipping season. Now, the Army Corps of Engineers says the Poe Lock will open up at 12:01 a.m. March 25th. The locks closed in January for a 10-week winter shutdown to allow crews to make critical repairs and maintenance, as well as additional work that was also completed on the MacArthur Lock. And spring may be in the air, but in a few days, and really right now, doesn't feel like it. In fact, let's take a live look at Mount Clemens as we head to break, and you're going to hear how some chilly winds are going to kind of send us back to reality for the weekend with more winter-like temperatures after it felt really awesome around here a couple of days ago. It's 9:15 on Local 4 Live. We'll be back.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, we have been following fluctuating seasons over the last couple of days. Today's really no different. I mean, we're going to have more of a reality check as far as seasonal 40s, but with the brisk wind through the day, at best we're going to feel like 30s. And then the winds really pick up come Friday. A high wind watch has been issued, and so we will be keeping a close eye on that possibly being upgraded to an advisory or warning as we head into Friday. But in the meantime, I mean, that's also going to come with a rain-snow mix on Friday with accumulating snow possible. So we are turning colder today compared to where we've been. The eastern half of the country, in fact, cooler associated with that cold front that pushed through bringing the rain yesterday. Now an upper level ridge is spreading warmer air for the western half of the country, though that is trickling into the far western edge of the Midwest. But our hourly forecast throughout the rest of the day taking us only to about 42 for the high. We're pairing that with sunshine, but we're also pairing it with the winds that will make it feel colder with the wind chill at best. Probably feeling like low 30s this afternoon. So it's definitely going to have a little bit more of that winter-like feel. The wind gusts upward of 20 miles per hour today, then amp up about double that come tomorrow. We could see wind gusts exceeding 45 miles per hour at times. And so that's why we do have that high wind watch for all of southeastern Michigan. That will be from 5 a.m. until 8 p.m. on your Friday. So if it's trash day come tomorrow, keep a very close eye on some toppled over trash cans in your neighborhood. And then as mentioned, it also will come with some precipitation. So I don't want to completely skip over the fact that there might be a little light sprinkle or two along or south of I-94 later this afternoon, but the rest of us dealing with pretty much clear conditions. Now around midnight, we get a line of a wintry mix. Probably snow as far south as about I-94 with that changeover occurring at that corridor to rain for our southern communities. This becomes much more widespread though by about 4 a.m. Now that rain snow line will likely lift closer to M59 through the morning, even before daybreak, and then we'll push that out of here 9-10 o'clock. I'm still not ruling out a few rain showers, but those could change the flurries into the afternoon. So with more persistent snow along and north of M59, that's where we have a better chance of accumulation, anywhere from about 1 inch to 2 inches. But if we do see a little bit more snow mixing in with that rain closer to I-94, won't completely rule out about 1/2 inch closer to that corridor. We're bookending the weekend with wintry weather. So we just talked about Friday's forecast. Saturday rather quiet, but Saturday night into Sunday, you start to see that snow pushing in. We'll have a little reprieve Sunday afternoon, but even going into Monday, it'll start as rain, maybe an embedded thunderstorm before changing over to snow as temperatures are taking a tumble. We will be in the 40s through the weekend, but then struggling to get to 30 for highs on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. That's your 7-day forecast.
And welcome back to Local 4 Live. Now, younger people are getting diagnosed with colon cancer at some pretty alarming rates. In 70% of the cases, patients have no family or genetic history. And what's even scarier is many of them had no symptoms before being diagnosed. Now, Priya Mann spoke with a mother of two who is urging people to get screened.
A lot of time in these infusion bays as a patient. She also worked here at the hospital for more than 2 decades and helped implement the system that reminds people to get screened, an alert, she says, that saved her life.
Had I not gotten this, who knows where I would be.
Brooke Westman is a 45-year-old mom of 2 teen girls. She was feeling fine when she went for a routine colon cancer screening.
I'm a healthy person. I eat well, I exercise. So the fact that they came back and said I had cancer, it was just a complete shock.
And you had no symptoms?
No symptoms.
Brooke was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer.
As a mom, you always want to protect your kids and you want to make sure that they're okay. But you also know that your kids are resilient.
As she undergoes grueling chemotherapy treatments, grit is a word that comes up often.
My kids made these bookmarks for us from the Lions, which are grit, one pride, and Detroit, right? So it really shows, like we talk about how our family's gritty, and you got to be gritty during this time.
Cases like Brooke's are why doctors are sounding the alarm.
There is a reason to worry. We have noticed that in younger population, especially less than 50 years old, the colon cancer rates have been increasing.
This is why the age for colon cancer screening was lowered to 45. While Brooke didn't have symptoms, these are some of the warning signs.
The most common symptoms are blood in stool, weight loss, change in bowel habits, abdominal pain or distension, and fatigue.
Dr. Nalamati says it's crucial to get a colonoscopy and talk to your doctor.
We tend not to talk about hope, but it is our normal part of life, right?
Brooke is sharing her story to help normalize this conversation. She found ways to talk to her girls about treatment, and it involves a splash of Honolulu blue.
We went to a couple games before I actually had my surgery, and so I actually named my port, because I have a port, I named it La Porta, so I have my little La Porta jersey here. I hope my kids are going to be more resilient for it and stronger for it, even though it's been really hard for all of us.
Well, they have you as a role model.
Yeah.
They're watching you.
Yeah.
Brooke cannot wait to ring that bell. Her last chemo treatment is in early April, and both of her daughters celebrate birthdays that month, and she says she can't think of a better gift than to be cancer-free. At Henry Ford Hospital, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
Now, since being diagnosed, one of Brooke's friends actually got screened, and doctors found advanced polyps, and she's urging everyone to get a colonoscopy as soon as they turn 45. Now, coming up here on Local 4 Live, we're going to be taking it out to the opening of the stock market as we watch as those oil and gas prices continue to rise. And after 2 years, a family is finally going to see justice in the death of 13-year-old Naziah Harris. Jarvis Butts is set to be sentenced this afternoon, and we'll have more on how much time he could be facing when Local 4 Live returns.
2:30 here.
15. All right, sock open, out to you on 1.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
And welcome back to Local 4 Live on this Thursday morning. I'm Jay Scott Smith. And this afternoon, the man who killed 13-year-old Naziah Harris will be sentenced. Now, Jarvis Butts admitted to killing her in January 2024, dumping her body in the Rouge River near 7 Mile and Berg. His sentencing includes a total of 6 cases that he pled guilty to, and the plea deals include a range of 10 to 60 years in prison. And Jarvis Butts is going to be sentenced today at 12 noon. Meanwhile, a Pontiac woman is going to be sentenced this afternoon for stealing welfare money meant for her kids. Kelly Bryan is also accused of leaving her 3 kids to live alone in filth for years. She pled no contest on the fraud charges, but still faces the child abuse charges. And now let's get you out to a live look at the Middle East, where the battle over oil is intensifying as unrelenting Iranian attacks on shipping traffic and energy infrastructure have pushed oil beyond $100 a barrel. It also comes as sources told NBC News that outdated intelligence likely led to a deadly strike on an Iranian elementary school. NBC News' Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
Hi there. Overnight, oil prices pushed back up toward the $100 a barrel mark, even as the U.S. and other countries move to release emergency stockpiles. Analysts tell NBC News that won't make up for all the lost supply and that gas prices are likely to keep going up. This morning, an intensifying war within the war over that critical oil route, the Strait of Hormuz. Iran launching new attacks on ships, keeping tanker traffic at a standstill in a bid to drive oil prices even higher. With gas prices here at home up 20% since the start of the war, the U.S. joining dozens of countries agreeing to release 400 million barrels of oil to try to drive prices down.
We're going to be doing it very quickly, and then we'll fill it up. We'll fill up our reserves.
Pentagon officials telling senators in a closed-door briefing the first 6 days of the war with Iran are estimated to have cost more than $11.3 billion. That according to 3 sources familiar with the briefing. President Trump sending mixed messages about the war's status.
Let me say, we've won. You know, you never like to say too early you won. We won.
Minutes later.
We don't want to leave early, do we? We got to finish the job.
And now new information from a U.S. military investigation into the missile strike on an Iranian elementary school at the start of the war that killed 170 people, mostly children, according to Iranian officials. NBC News has learned preliminary results find the U.S. was likely responsible due to outdated intelligence believed to have mislabeled the school as a military target, according to a U.S. official and 3 sources familiar with the initial findings. Senate Democrats demanding answers from the Defense Department.
It's important that the DOD figures out how did this happen and then put things in place to make sure it does not happen again.
President Trump has said he would live with the investigation's findings. You may have heard reports about an FBI bulletin sent to police departments in California, warning Iran could launch drones from ships off the coast. A federal law enforcement source tells NBC News that was sent only for awareness and that there is no credible evidence or intelligence about an imminent attack. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
Now let's get a live look at the New York Stock Exchange as investors continue to be concerned over the war and those oil prices. Now trading just started for the day. Yesterday the Dow closed down nearly 300 points, the lowest closing price since the beginning of December. And as you see right now, we're already starting down about 558 points. And the Michigan-based medical company Stryker is working to fix outages that were caused by a massive cyber attack. Now, the company released an update earlier this morning saying they're working to get their global network operations back to normal. The company believes the attack is isolated and there is no signs of ransomware. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, a pro-Palestinian hacking group is taking credit for it, and they claim they wiped devices and stole data. The U.S. is still investigating who might be behind the cyber attack. And in Oakland County, people are speaking up after being shut out. During an Oakland County Board of Commissioners meeting last night, we're told that people were barred from both the Democratic and Republican caucus meetings, even after one commissioner spoke up against the move. Now, one closed-door session focused on an ICE resolution, and those who were shut out claimed the move violated open meetings laws. So to find out if this was legal, we reached out to an attorney who was not affiliated with the county.
I don't think it's a violation of the Open Meetings Act to meet with your counsel, but I don't understand how you meet separately.
It undercuts, even if they say that it's legal somehow, it undercuts the spirit of democracy and people's faith in their leaders.
Now, other commissioners and the county attorney would not speak with us. However, we were told by the county's communications officer that both caucuses met with attorneys to discuss a legal opinion protected from disclosure under attorney-client privilege. Now, in the city of Detroit, they want to help hundreds of people become first-time homeowners. Detroit's down payment assistance program is offering up to $25,000 to cover down payments and closing costs. So far, they've helped 794 people, and a new round of funding is expected to help 450 more. And the city is also partnering with organizations like National Faith Home Buyers to set families up for success. Now, the group says they're seeing all kinds of people coming to them looking for help.
Everybody, senior citizens are buying homes, young people are buying homes, college graduates. It's amazing. Single women, single men. Not enough men. We're doing a call to action for men. Okay, it's time for you to buy your own home as well.
Now, if you're interested in this program, you can go to our story on clickondetroit.com, where we have a link where you can learn more or where you can apply. And here's a live look over Belle Isle, where tomorrow the Conservancy is marking 313 Day with free family-friendly events all day long. That's coming up. Plus, we also have a major highlight that many people are looking forward to. That's the reopening of the Belle Isle Casino. Now, the casino is not a gambling hall, so there's not going to be a sports book on Belle Isle, but it's a popular spot for weddings and other events. So after years of improvement, a ribbon cutting ceremony is going to be held at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to welcome visitors back. Other activities will include spotlighting art, music, and community programming across Detroit's legendary Belle Isle. Now, if you're looking for more fun on 313 Day, Local 4 is hosting a free all-ages celebration of the city on the riverfront. It happens tomorrow from 3:13 p.m. That's 313 on your clock until 8 p.m. at the Robert C. Belade Park on Atwater Street. Now, coming up, we've got more about an HOA nightmare, as neighbors have been forced to pay bills for condos that were destroyed years ago. Here's a live look at Southfield as we head to break. Coming up, we'll explain how this legal battle got started and what's next for the people living in those condos when Local 4 Live returns. And welcome back to Local 4 Live. And condo owners are being told that their HOA needs to pay up each month or face foreclosure. But the condos that they're being told to pay for were destroyed in a fire more than a year ago. So Local 4's investigators spoke to 2 condo owners at the units at the La Chateau condominiums in Southfield. And they say since the building burned down 3 years ago, the HOA has been ignoring their concerns. And they're demanding that they keep making payments. Here's our investigator, Karen Drew.
This is what needs to be. Yeah. But is no law.
Lance Slater, his attorney, and David Henry walk along the fence where their condos once stood. The second floor completely gone, and only the charred remains of the first floor still stand. In November of 2024, a fire tore through the building, killing a 73-year-old woman.
Crews from 6 different communities worked to put out the flames,
sending 3 people to the hospital and displacing dozens. Lance was renting his units out, and David's son was living in his condo when the fire happened. David's son lost everything, and they're still working to rebuild.
We had to just do all of this running around, but slowly but surely, with my help, he's getting back on his feet.
David has continued paying each month because, despite everything, the condo still holds a special connection to his mother.
I inherited this place from my mom. She was one of the oldest residents here. She wanted me to have it, for my son to live here.
But Lance stopped paying, and the HOA is foreclosing on the 2 units that he says he's had for over 15 years.
The treatment that we're getting, we don't understand it.
They both say they want transparency from the HOA board. David says the board has been carrying over the pre-fire budget, even though an entire building is gone.
There are no expenses for this, at least operating expenses. I'm not asking for zero. I'm asking for the assessment.
Lance is working with an attorney and says they're considering legal options.
We reached out to the board to see if they would be willing to agree to abate some of the fees or allow my client to pay the fees after the unit was reconstructed. And basically, they thumbed their nose at us and then foreclosed on the unit.
Karen Drew, Local 4.
Now, we made multiple attempts to reach out to the HOA board, both directly and through the Encompass Management Group, and we're still waiting to hear back. Now, coming up after the break, we have several chances for snow in the forecast this weekend. Local 4 meteorologist Ashley Barrissey will tell us where and when, and a community is also picking up the pieces after a devastating loss due to a tornado. We'll take you out to Chicago as well as Indiana and find out how people living there are dealing with the aftermath of deadly tornadoes when Local 4 Live returns. And welcome back to Local 4 Live. It's 9:45 and you are looking live over the city of Chicago. Now, just south of there, a community is grief-stricken after 2 people were killed when deadly tornadoes along with giant hail tore across Illinois and Indiana. Reed Benyon has the latest.
This is devastating. I'm sorry, I'm just lost for words.
A community grief-stricken after 2 people were tragically killed when a tornado ripped through Lake Village, Indiana.
She was good to everyone, all the kids. She was a good person. They were wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. This was their home forever. I mean, they were there forever.
The couple, both in their 80s, killed when the twister struck their home. On top of those 2 fatalities, the tornado trapped some in their homes and left a heartbreaking trail of destruction in its wake. Total devastation, as one official put it, with at least 100 structures damaged as of Wednesday's count, including dozens destroyed, numbers that are expected to rise. Indiana Governor Mike Braun said on social media that first responders, state and local officials, and the American Red Cross were providing immediate support to communities. That tornado wasn't the only one in the area. There was also a monster twister that tore through Kankakee, Illinois, and nearby Aroma Park, Illinois. There were several injuries, but no deaths, according to Kankakee's mayor. The severe weather also included destructive hail, some of it softball size or larger, that crushed cars and caused damage in Illinois.
It was intense. The windows were getting knocked out of the houses. The golf ball size hail, bigger than golf ball, softball size hail.
I'm Reed Benyon reporting.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, we have been following fluctuating seasons over the last couple of days. Today's really no different. I mean, we're going to have more of a reality check as far as seasonal 40s, but with the brisk wind through the day, at best we're going to feel like 30s. And then the winds really pick up come Friday. A high wind watch has been issued, and so we will be keeping a close eye on that possibly being upgraded to an advisory or warning as we head into Friday. But in the meantime, I mean, that's also going to come with a rain-snow mix on Friday with accumulating snow possible. So we are turning colder today compared to where we've been. The eastern half of the country, in fact, cooler associated with that cold front that pushed through bringing the rain yesterday. Now an upper level ridge is spreading warmer air for the western half of the country, though that is trickling into the far western edge of the Midwest. But our hourly forecast throughout the rest of the day taking us only to about 42 for the high. We're pairing that with sunshine, but we're also pairing it with the winds that will make it feel colder with the wind chill at best. Probably feeling like low 30s this afternoon. So it's definitely going to have a little bit more of that winter-like feel. The wind gusts upward of 20 miles per hour today, then amp up about double that come tomorrow. We could see wind gusts exceeding 45 miles per hour at times. And so that's why we do have that high wind watch for all of southeastern Michigan. That will be from 5 a.m. until 8 p.m. on your Friday. So if it's trash day come tomorrow, keep a very close eye on some toppled over trash cans in your neighborhood. And then as mentioned, it also will come with some precipitation. So I don't want to completely skip over the fact that there might be a little light sprinkle or two along or south of I-94 later this afternoon, but the rest of us dealing with pretty much clear conditions. Now around midnight, we get a line of a wintry mix. Probably snow as far south as about I-94 with that changeover occurring at that corridor to rain for our southern communities. This becomes much more widespread though by about 4 a.m. Now that rain snow line will likely lift closer to M59 through the morning, even before daybreak, and then we'll push that out of here 9-10 o'clock. I'm still not ruling out a few rain showers, but those could change the flurries into the afternoon. So with more persistent snow along and north of M59, that's where we have a better chance of accumulation, anywhere from about 1 inch to 2 inches. But if we do see a little bit more snow mixing in with that rain closer to I-94, won't completely rule out about 1/2 inch closer to that corridor. We're bookending the weekend with wintry weather. So we just talked about Friday's forecast. Saturday rather quiet, but Saturday night into Sunday, you start to see that snow pushing in. We'll have a little reprieve Sunday afternoon, but even going into Monday, it'll start as rain, maybe an embedded thunderstorm before changing over to snow as temperatures are taking a tumble. We will be in the 40s through the weekend, but then struggling to get to 30 for highs on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. That's your 7-day forecast.
Prom is such a big deal.
It is. Prom was a big deal. Prom was a lot with renting the car, getting the accessories, getting your hair done, getting your makeup done. I would say go to prom. It's worth it. Go to prom. Even if you have those jitters like, oh, I don't know if I want to go to prom.
Now, going to prom for some families is a little easier said than done. It can get very expensive to do all that, leaving some kids at home on prom night. And that's why Local 4 is teaming up with the Belle of the Ball to collect new and gently used prom dresses. For our next Go For It event, it's happening all day next Wednesday, March 18th. Now, here's Rhonda Walker with how the Belle of the Ball prom dress giveaway has been making prom dreams come true for the last 18 years.
Tell me about the prom dress giveaway and how it impacted your life.
So when I was a senior in high school, I really did not want to go to prom.
Why didn't you want to go to prom? Was it just the expense and, you know, just all the glitz of it all?
It was the expense, but it was also like the COVID time. The dress that I looked at was around $700–800.
Belle of the Ball prom dress giveaway, founded by Wayne County Commissioner Alicia Bell, is now approaching its 18th year. Not only offsetting that expense for families, it's also open to anyone to make prom dress shopping easier. A one-stop shop with thousands of dress choices, new and gently used in all sizes and colors.
What made you start it in the first place?
You know, I started this because of economics. Back in 2007, we were going through an economic downturn in the country, and I thought about how expensive even then prom was. What can I do from my seat in my community to help that one expense for that one time in a young lady's life? And the idea came, and then actually, I'm not going to tell the story, it came from my mother. She said, you should have a prom dress giveaway. And I said, you're right, I should.
Did you think it was going to follow you for the next 18 years?
Did not. Did not. And every year, as marvelous and fantastic as it is, it's so labor intensive that I say, this is the last year. And a couple of days later, I say, okay, team, we're going to do it again next year. Let's go.
In addition to gently used dresses, some come from local dress stores, brand new, with tags valued at hundreds to over $1,000.
Give me some perspective on what it means to these families.
You never know how you're going to bless someone, and they're literally in tears because they knew they could not afford the dress for that young lady for that very special time in their lives, and to have a beautiful, free dress.
I went and I found a beautiful dress, and I went to prom, and the dress was so beautiful. I got a lot of compliments, so now I want to pay it forward by donating that dress back so somebody else can have that amazing experience like I did.
We are excited to partner for Go For It.
Yes.
What specifically do you want donors to give this year?
I would love for them to give our plus size dresses, 12, 16, 18, 20, 22s. We have 1,000 0, 2s, and 4s, which is awesome. But those larger sizes, we would really want to build our inventory for our larger sizes as well, because we want every young lady who comes in to leave with a dress. And sometimes they could even leave with 2 dresses.
Faith's appeal to recent high school grads like she was?
The prom dress is probably sitting in your closet, so just give it back.
Rhonda Walker, Local 4.
So here are the dates to remember. Our Go For It, Pass It On event for prom is next Wednesday, March 18th. And that's where we're going to be collecting new and like new prom dresses at the Boys and Girls Club's locations on Tyerman, just east of the Southfield Freeway on the city's west side. And if you or someone you know wants to shop for the free prom dresses at the annual Belle of the Ball prom dress giveaway, that event is happening on Saturday, April 11th at that same Boys and Girls Club location on Tyerman. Now, we've got so much more coming up throughout the day here on Local 4. In fact, Tati and Kim are joining us live in the D. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing it's even better now that I see you two here.
Oh, we'll take it. You know what might make you even better?
What's that?
Is if you just went on a full sardine diet.
A full sardine diet. I do like seafood.
You do? Do you like sardines?
I don't know about sardines, but I do like seafood. So please, I'm actually intrigued here.
It's a social media craze. People are eating it for health benefits. So usually for breakfast with like a boiled egg. It was this thing that was going viral probably a few years ago, and it's like made this resurgence, especially for women. They say it's great for your skin, great for your hair, great for your nails, great for everything. So we're taking a deep dive into that conversation today. Sardines.
Sardines and eggs. And I think all these years I was doing sausage and eggs. pancake.
Oh, you've had it wrong this whole time. Who knew? That's what we're here for. We also have St. Baldrick's on the show today. They have an amazing fundraiser coming up this weekend, so we're going to talk about that. I also did a piece at Children's Hospital of Michigan because this fundraiser will benefit children who are at that hospital. Yeah. So it's a full circle piece, and I'm really excited to share it with everyone.
Very touching, very touching. And we're announcing a bracket. Can't give you all the details right now. That's why you have to join us at 11 a.m. for Live in the D.
11 a.m. Live in the D's coming up. Of course, you see it right here, of course, on Local 4 and on Local 4 Plus. We want to thank you for joining us for Local 4 Live on this Thursday morning. Remember, there's more news and weather ahead here on Local 4 Plus. And as always, you can find it on clickondetroit.com and the Click on Detroit app. Make sure you keep that on your phones. We'll see you back here for Live in the D at 11. And of course, remember to follow the news at noon. Have a great Thursday, everybody.